Police confirm David never killed anyone after new evidence emerges.
Physically, but in the back of my mind, she died.
When word first hit the block
Alright,
that
bro.
15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body got discovered all decomposed in David's Tesla, no one believed him. But the feds just confirmed new evidence that clears David's name in the homicide case. And the new name they mentioned will change everything you thought you knew about this case.
Bro, if y'all go back in any of my videos, bro, you'll see. I can't lie. I felt like they were gonna say this. I knew he didn't do it, but he definitely should be charged with the other shit though. 100%.
When the streets started talking and the evidence got real. Here's the thing that most folks missed while they was busy getting their posts off about David. The actual evidence? Man, that's telling a whole different story than what went viral on your timeline. Let me run this back to September 8, 2025, when this whole situation kicked off. Workers at Hollywood Tow on North Mansfield Avenue started smelling something foul coming from this black 2023 Tesla Model 3 that had just been brought in a few days earlier. The whip had been sitting abandoned in the Hollywood Hills for damn near 3 weeks to a whole month before it got towed. Just posted up on public streets in one of LA's most bougie neighborhoods where folks don't usually let cars sit like that. When LAPD rolled up around 12:30 p.m. that day and popped open the front trunk, what Tesla owners call the frunk, they found severely decomposed human remains wrapped up in a black plastic bag weighing about 71 pounds. Shorty was in such bad condition that it took another 9 days, until September 17, 2025, for the authorities to officially confirm the victim was Celeste Rivas Hernandez through dental records, DNA testing, and a distinctive tattoo on her right index finger.
Damn.
Now peep this, because this is where the narrative gets real interesting, and where paying attention to the facts becomes crucial as hell. While the Tesla was definitely registered to David, the 20-year-old artist was actively on his Withered World tour when the body got discovered, performing in cities all across North America. My mans had been on the road for weeks, with documented performances and public appearances that created a whole verifiable timeline of where he was at. Let's keep it a buck about Celeste herself, because her story is heartbreaking and complicated in ways that got lost in all the drama. Celeste Rivas Hernandez got reported missing on April 5th, 2024, from her crib in Lake Elsinore, California, when Shorty was only 13 years old. But this wasn't her first time dipping out. She had run away from home multiple times throughout 2024, including on February 14th, 15 March 19th, and April 5th. What makes this real relevant to understanding what really went down is that Riverside County Sheriff's deputies got called to her family's spot 11 times between February 2024 and April 2025, mostly for minor crime investigations and suspicious circumstances.
Nigga, 11 times? Shit, what the fuck going on in your house, nigga? Mobile fucking drug fucking, I don't know. Drug trading place? I don't even know. I'm just yapping.
Ex-boyfriend said Shorty was dealing with a troubled home life, painting a picture of a young girl going through it with some real difficult circumstances that went way deeper than just one relationship or situation. The internet, of course, had already made up its mind before getting all the facts. Matching tattoos, sus as hell. Photos together, that's it, he's guilty. A leaked song supposedly titled Celeste, case closed, lock him up. But let's examine what law enforcement actually said, and more importantly, what they didn't say. LAPD Captain Scott M. Williams came out and explicitly stated, "We know for sure that Celeste Rivas Hernandez died and someone placed her body in the front trunk area of David Burke's Tesla." But peep what he added, fam, that it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond someone concealing the body. This right here is crucial, real talk. After weeks of investigating, David has never been named as a suspect, never been arrested, and has been cooperating fully with the authorities. His people confirmed to multiple news outlets that David has been informed about what's happened, and although he is still out on tour, he is fully cooperating with the authorities. But yo, perhaps the most significant piece of information came from forensic experts who've been analyzing the case. Dr. Amy Santoro, a forensic scientist and former CSI with a whole PhD, publicly stated that investigators believe Celeste's death resulted from a drug overdose based on preliminary autopsy findings showing no signs of trauma. In her breakdown, Santoro noted that if toxicology confirms this theory, David would likely not face homicide charges, as the focus would shift away from intentional foul play. Think about what that really means, fam. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office deferred the cause and manner of death, noting no pregnancy and significant decomposition that prevented them from immediately determining how she passed. Without a confirmed homicide classification, the case exists in a legal gray area that fundamentally challenges the whole murder narrative that was running wild on social media.
But honestly, it still don't explain how the fuck her body got in that trunk. Like, y'all need to go through the Tesla footage, because Teslas have footage, bro. And like, gotta reveal that shit. I mean, you gotta reveal it to the public anyways. I mean, you got to. But bro, just go through the Tesla footage, bro. You go see who putting it in there, bro. I'm telling you.
Defense attorney Alexandra Kazarian kept it real in a News Nation interview, straight up asserting there was no evidence against this man for any crime, despite all the circumstantial connections like the vehicle and the alleged relationship. She noted LAPD's cautious approach, holding back details because of insufficient information. Let's address the elephant in the room, the tea everybody been spilling, the speculation about their relationship. Yeah, Celeste's moms told TMZ that her daughter had mentioned dating someone named David. Yeah, they appeared to share a tattoo. Yeah, there were photos and alleged Discord messages floating around, but here's what often gets overlooked when folks is gossiping. David's manager, Josh Marshall, who was the one leasing that Hollywood Hills property where David would sometimes crash, stated he had zero knowledge of any events and worked remotely with minimal interaction with his clients. The timeline itself presents major problems for folks convinced David is guilty. No cap. The Tesla was sitting abandoned in the Hollywood Hills for approximately 3 weeks before it got towed on or around September 3rd, 2025. During this whole period, David was documented as being on tour, performing in multiple cities. Neighbors been saying the whip was sitting in the area since as early as mid-August, well before anybody discovered what was really going on. The decomposition of Celeste's remains, estimated at 4 weeks old when they found her, suggests Shorty had been deceased for a minute. This detail becomes critical when you consider where David was actually at and who else might have had access to his whip. The investigation gets deep and the evidence stacks up. As the investigation kept pushing through September 2025, what became increasingly clear wasn't the certainty of David's guilt that everybody on social media was so pressed about, but rather the complexity of a case involving a troubled teenager, a vehicle that multiple people could access, and a cause of death that remained elusive as hell to forensic experts. On September 17, 2025, LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division ran up on the Hollywood Hills rental home on the 1300 block of Doheny Place with a search warrant, a property that was being leased by David's manager Josh Marshall for approximately $20,000 per month since February 2024. Detectives searched for blood evidence, including checking drains for traces, and seized electronics like a laptop for forensic analysis. But here's where it gets interesting, fam. Just days after the raid, on September 24th, 25, the lease got abruptly terminated and the whole spot got cleared out. The homeowner, Mladen Trifunovic, confirmed that Marshall hit him up, saying they was breaking the lease and dipping by week's end, though he emphasized that when the lease was originally signed in February 2024, everything was regular and there wasn't no issues at the time. This quick exit fueled even more speculation online, with mad people interpreting it as evidence that somebody had something to hide. But consider the alternative explanation. Real talk, when your client's crib gets raided in connection with a high-profile death investigation and the media circus done set up camp outside, continuing to live there becomes impossible, regardless of whether you innocent or guilty. The property had external security cameras that could potentially provide evidence, though the owner stated he couldn't access footage without tenant permission or a warrant. Let's talk about what forensic science can and cannot tell us in situations like this, because it's crucial. The advanced decomposition of Celeste's remains, her body weight dropped to approximately 71 pounds due to decay, significantly complicated the investigation. Forensic expert Amy Santoro broke it down that investigators suspect a drug overdose based on autopsy results showing no trauma, which would fundamentally change the whole nature of the case from murder to potentially tragic accidental death or misadventure.
Michael, a situation that you actually caught us up on last week involving the pop singer David and Celeste Rivas, who's this 17-year-old, and her body was discovered.
My nigga, you heard nobody say this bitch was 17, bro. Nobody said she was 17. Nobody said she was past 15, gang. Nigga just added 17. Gang, she's 14. Don't even try to like downplay it, bro. 17, no, 14, bro.
If memory serves, in the trunk of a Tesla that was found in a rental car lot in California.
Yeah, and even more tragic, she was 15 now, and when she went missing, she was only 13 years old. She went missing in April of 2024.
The absence of trauma is significant as hell, fam. In cases where somebody gets murdered violently, bodies typically show evidence of how they died. Strangulation leaves marks on the neck. Blunt force trauma leaves fractures. Stabbing or shooting leaves characteristic wounds. The lack of such evidence, combined with the deferred determination of cause of death pending toxicology, suggests a scenario way different from the violent murder many folks assumed went down. Consider Celeste's background. background more carefully, because it's important. She had a documented history of running away, with sheriff's deputies pulling up to her family's spot 11 times in 13 months for disturbances and minor crimes. Community members in Lake Elsinore noted she had run away at least 3 times in 2024, often leaving notes or being spotted near vehicles. Her ex-boyfriend described family tensions and a troubled home environment. This pattern of behavior is crucial to understanding potential alternative scenarios. No cap. A teenager repeatedly bouncing from difficult home circumstances might seek refuge with various people, might make risky decisions, might end up in dangerous situations involving drugs or other hazards, all without any single individual being responsible for a premeditated murder. You feel me? Private investigator reports suggested that back in 2024, relatives had supposedly emailed David's management about Celeste's disappearance, and she came home the next day, possibly suggesting some kind of intervention went down. However, Marshall denied receiving such emails, highlighting how difficult it becomes to separate verified facts from speculation and hearsay. The online speculation reached peak levels with people analyzing David's music like it was evidence. His song, Romantic Homicide, with bars like, "In the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry, no, not a single tear," got re-examined as potentially prophetic or like he was confessing. But as David himself explained in a Genius interview,
So what inspired the hook, "In the back of my mind, you died," is kind of like the storytelling aspect of the lyrics that came before it, in a way that it builds up to the big moment where she died in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died. And I didn't even cry, not a single tear. I've seen people online take different meanings and interpretations from that one part of the song where it's like it's their past selves that's dying, and they're not even crying about it because they're evolved or become better people or have killed addictions and other different stuff like that. So I think it's very powerful.
the song dropped in July 2022, way before Celeste went missing. Claims that it dropped on her birthday got thoroughly debunked, yet kept circulating on social media as evidence. Professional consequences came down hard on David regardless of what the facts actually showed. He canceled his remaining tour dates, including shows in Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Brands like Crocs and Hollister pulled their collaborations. His music got deprioritized on streaming platforms, and his whole career trajectory got significantly altered. Some folks defended him though. Streamers Jason Lewine and Ludwig chopped it up about the situation.
The background reports have emerged that D4 paused his ongoing tour after a woman's body, later identified as a 15-year-old, was found inside a Tesla registered to his name. TMZ reported that the victim and the singer shared the same tattoo, Shush, on the same finger.
He was obsessed with the victim, wrote songs about her, had matching tattoos and tons of pics together. She was still a
But even these defenses got complicated, fam. Jason initially said David didn't do it and wasn't a murderer, only to catch heat when more circumstantial details came out. Fellow streamer Rain later defended Jason's initial stance, arguing that having your homies back before hard evidence emerges is understandable, though he noted that continuing to defend him after evidence appears would be problematic. The Tesla itself became a major focal point. These whips are equipped with Sentry mode cameras and extensive data logging. Former TV personality academics noted that if David was responsible, it would be remarkably foolish to commit such a crime in a vehicle that records everything, suggesting the case should be pretty easy for cops to solve given the forensic capabilities of modern electric vehicles.
Honestly, bro, I can't lie. I knew David didn't kill her, but at the same time, he's definitely should be charged with, you know, molestation and all that. Definitely 100% easily. I know he didn't do it just because of the fact that, like, bro, you got to realize that, like, people are dumb, but people aren't really that dumb. Like, why would you kill her? Put her in your car, and then, like, not go in your car, go on tour, and, like, do all this shit. It's still registered in your name. Like, I mean, bro, I can't lie. You're going to be the first suspect. The first one. And the fact that the cops already ruled him out, I can't lie. I said it in previous videos, bro. I feel like he didn't do it. But, like, he just needs to go to jail for the other shit. 100%. Easily. 100%.
Real truth emerges and what it all means. As we move into late September and October 2025, a clearer picture starts emerging, one that's way different from the premeditated murder narrative that dominated early coverage in the streets. The evidence increasingly points toward a tragedy involving a vulnerable teenager, substance abuse, and a series of circumstances that, while certainly sus in their details, may not constitute the criminal homicide many folks assumed went down. Forensic scientist Amy Santoro's repeated statements that investigators believe Celeste died from from a drug overdose represent perhaps the most significant development in understanding this whole situation. In multiple social media posts analyzed from early October 2025, Santoro broke down that if toxicology confirms overdose as the cause of death, David would likely avoid homicide charges entirely, as the death might stem from self-inflicted or accidental means amid Celeste's documented risky behaviors. This theory lines up with several key facts. Real talk, the absence of trauma noted in preliminary autopsy.
I just want them to really get her, just to get like what was in her body and like all the shit, you know, like see what drugs are still lingering in her system. Because at the same time, she could have got laced. Like, she could have got laced. You just never know. It's just so much shit that plays into the fact whenever it's an overdose.
Findings, Celeste's history of running away and seeking refuge in different spots, and the complexity of determining cause of death in severely decomposed remains. The deferred classification by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner takes on new significance in this context, not as some delay tactic, but as an acknowledgement of genuine scientific uncertainty. Let's consider what we know about the whip itself, fam. Multiple sources confirmed that David owned several vehicles and that the Tesla was accessible to various people. The car had been sitting abandoned for weeks, during which time David was verifiably on tour performing in cities across North America. The timeline of decomposition suggested Celeste had been deceased for several weeks before discovery, a period that overlapped with David's documented absences from LA. This raises crucial questions, no cap. If David wasn't physically present when Celeste died, and if her death resulted from drug overdose rather than violence, what exactly is the nature of any potential culpability? Is it possible Shorty died at a location where David had stayed, and others, perhaps trying to avoid scrutiny or legal consequences, placed her body in his whip knowing he was away on tour? Is it possible she used the vehicle herself or with some people she was rolling with, and tragedy struck without David's knowledge? LAPD Captain Scott M. Williams' careful statement that someone placed her body in the front trunk area of David Burke's Tesla, but that it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond body concealment starts making more sense in this context. The act of concealing a body is itself a crime, but it's fundamentally different from causing the death, you feel me? The timing coincidence that emerged through surveillance footage showing Celeste in her parents' backyard on September 8, 2024, exactly 1 year before her body got discovered, adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. This footage, dated 5 months after she was supposedly missing for the last time, revealed that Celeste's disappearances were more sporadic and her situation more fluid than initially understood. She had apparently returned home periodically, including potentially for her 14th birthday on September 7th, 2024.
But was she still really missing without a trace all that time? The other day, TMZ acquired some video of Celeste in her parents' backyard, and it was dated September 8th, 2024. That date is so significant for a couple of reasons. First off, it's 5 months after she supposedly disappeared for the last time. And what's more sad is that it is 1 day after her 14th birthday, which makes me think maybe Celeste came home for her birthday. Her birthday's on September 7th. This video's on September 8th.
Ashley Banfield's coverage on Drop Dead Serious highlighted how police got called to Celeste's family's spot 11 times in just over a year, with 3 separate visits on March 19, 2024, alone, the day Celeste got caught on liquor store surveillance running down the street. These details paint a picture of a teenager in crisis, cycling through disappearances and returns, living in circumstances that repeatedly had law enforcement pulling up. The investigation revealed complexities in Celeste's family situation as well. Fam. Reports initially suggested her parents might be undocumented immigrants who had bounced from the country, but exclusive records obtained by News Nation showed both parents were in the United States legally, having received social security numbers around 2001. A former neighbor who lived in public housing with the family from 2019 to 2020 reported occasionally hearing the parents beefing about custody of their children, though there wasn't no indication of divorce. What emerges is a portrait of a troubled family system, a young girl seeking escape, and a tragic outcome that may have resulted from the cumulative effect of these circumstances rather than any single villainous act. This doesn't diminish the tragedy. If anything, it makes it more heartbreaking. Real talk. Celeste Rivas Hernandez deserved better than the circumstances she found herself in, regardless of how those circumstances came to be. The legal implications of the drug overdose theory are profound, fam. Without a homicide classification, prosecutors would face major challenges bringing murder charges against anyone. Former prosecutors noted that while arrests are possible even without a precise cause of death, the absence of evidence of foul play makes it difficult to proceed. The concealment of the body itself could lead to charges, but determining who's responsible for that concealment, particularly when multiple people may have had access to the vehicle, presents its own challenges. David has maintained through his representatives that he had no knowledge of anything foul happening and has been cooperating fully with authorities. The online speculation about grooming, given Celeste's age, remains a separate concern that the street's been talking about. Discord messages allegedly showing communication between a user named Celeste and David dating back to 2022 raised questions about the nature and timeline of their connection. However, authorities haven't confirmed the authenticity of these messages or brought charges related to statutory rape or exploitation. California's statutory rape laws would certainly apply if a sexual relationship occurred between David, age 20, and Celeste, age 13, 15 during the relevant period. But proving such a relationship beyond screenshots and speculation would require substantial evidence. As of late,
bro, this nigga David is not going to jail, bro. They are basically saying that even though with screenshots, basically, you know, I know y'all seen the screenshots of, you know, her texting her friend or whatever it was, saying that, you know, her and David did it and a dude named Gus that did it. They basically saying that those screenshots really don't prove anything, which in the court of law, to be honest, like, if y'all see all the rappers' cases and all that shit that they got, bro, they need hard, clear evidence. Because you gotta think about it, David's gonna get the best fucking lawyers because he has money. I mean, that's why rappers and shit always get out for scot-free, probation, all that shit. The most David's probably going to get from this is probably probation, bro. But his whole image is going to be fucked up, though. But, like, bro, they basically saying that they won't arrest him. If David basically, if he hasn't completed, like I said completed, if he didn't commit this crime right here, he's scot-free. As long as they find the person that did it, and David's not like linked or at all, he's scot-free. That shit's crazy, bro.
October 2025, no such charges had been filed. What does this all mean for David's future, fam? The absence of criminal charges doesn't erase the professional damage he suffered. His tour remains canceled, brand partnerships got dissolved, and his reputation took a major hit. Even if he eventually gets cleared of all criminal wrongdoing, the association with this tragedy will likely follow him throughout his whole career. No cap. But here's what we gotta grapple with as a society. Real talk. The rush to judgment based on circumstantial evidence, social media speculation, and the human tendency to want clear villains in complex tragedies. Legal experts like Alexandra Kazarian emphasized that despite the circumstantial links, there was no evidence against this man for any crime. LAPD's careful public statements consistently avoided naming David as a suspect, suggesting investigators recognized from early on that the evidence didn't support the narrative many folks assumed. The tragedy of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death remains regardless of who may or may not bear legal responsibility, fam. A 15-year-old girl who repeatedly sought escape from difficult circumstances ended up dead, her body abandoned in a vehicle. Her family grieves, having launched a GoFundMe for funeral costs and memorial services. Community members.
Man, the family shouldn't get shit. Honestly, y'all shouldn't even donate to them, bro. Y'all let y'all daughter be out for that long, bro. If that was my daughter, bro, I'm looking for my daughter. I don't give a fuck. My daughter just gonna come home that same night or that same day. Fuck all that, bro. You're weird, bro. You let your daughter be gone for over a year. No, you don't deserve any money. Nothing. Nothing at all.
Members in Lake Elsinore held vigils describing her as a sweet child who deserved better. As we await final toxicology reports and any potential charging decisions from prosecutors, what's become clear is that the actual evidence in this case, the forensic findings, the timelines, the investigative facts, paint a far more complex and ambiguous picture than the murder narrative that went viral on everybody's timeline. Dr. Amy Santoro's assessment that we are weeks away from any charges suggests that even if charges eventually materialize, they may be way different from what many folks expected. The lesson here extends beyond this single case. Real talk. In an era of instant communication and social media justice, we gotta resist the urge to convict based on circumstantial connections and suspicious coincidences. The American legal system, for all its flaws and the way it's...
Bro, honestly, he's just talking about straight bullshit. I can't lie. He just talking just to fucking extend the video longer, bro. He's not saying shit. Basically, what he just said is that David's is not gonna... In simpler words, he's basically saying that David's not going to be going to jail for the amount of time that people are thinking. Even if it was for the R word, statutory R word, or murder, he's not going to jail for either one of them because the evidence is too light and too low. Now, if they go through David's like shit and find like, you know, pictures, maybe videos, maybe even a picture maybe of like that he took in the bed with her, not while, you know, in the act, but like just like in the bed. I hope they find something, bro, so that way he goes to jail, bro. No innocent little girl should have to go through some shit like that, bro.